We're in West Texas. It doesn't change much for you, of course. But you can see the sort of...
That changes everything.
You can see the... Yeah, what is it? The... not pancreas, pelvis shape of Texas sort of drifting down. You're on the west side of that. And you head off from... you're about 11 in the morning, 11 a.m., and you set out from Austin, far east, earlier today. And you've sort of been crossing the middle bones of the pelvis over to the west. And since Marathon, you've taken a dive south, and that's the track you're on currently. Am I cut out? Can you hear me? And you stopped off, I think, a couple of hours ago in Marathon, or just on the outskirts of Marathon, just a truck stop to get some food, so you're not starving. It's a long drive. It's like 5.5 hours drive, so you stop to get something. And at this point, you know that you're nearing... All that it says on your map is the Devil's Backbone, sort of ridge of rocks, and you know that there was a uranium mine there, obviously, until I think about 56 it was abandoned. And the main reason for your visit is that you've been asked to test the groundwater in the area, and it's part of a government initiative to sort of check a lot of these old mines and the areas around them to see how it might be affecting the people, the wildlife, and all that. And so as you sort of near the Devil's Backbone, you can see this sort of ridge of rock gradually... some great
escaped zongi from a local zoo has been causing chaos in the little
desert creature.
Down.
Oh, have I frozen?
A little bit.
Tell me when you can hear me again.
I can hear you. The great desert creature.
Sounded like you were talking about some kind of giant worm, or caterpillar, or millipede.
Can you imagine if a giant worm just came up out of the dirt over there?
Yeah, I can imagine it. I seen it.
Hooey.
Not a giant worm, but a bigger worm than you might think.
How big are we talking here, Mr. Lafitte?
Well, the Californian sandworm is at least 3 times as long, maximum length, than your average earthworm, 2 times the diameter. It's quite a sight, but of course it's completely harmless, but not everyone will believe that when they see it. It looks like it's alarming. It's like some kind of grub or a larva.
What would you say is the weirdest insect what you have ever seen?
The weirdest insect? Well, I don't find them weird as such. I find them fascinating, but I suppose...
You must have come across something in your exploits where you said, holy shit, that's the weirdest. That's not what I was expecting at all.
Well, I tell you, you will know about stick insects, right? You all seen stick insects?
Of course.
Sure.
You ever seen a leaf insect?
Oh, sure.
A leaf?
There's a leaf insect in Central America that looks more like a leaf than a leaf, I would say. And you see that clinging.
I've never seen that.
When you discover it, when you come across, because if you don't know it's there, you don't know what you're looking for, there's no way of seeking it out. But when you see it, the body of the thing, the carapace, is fascinating, and the way its wings and limbs simulate not just the appearance of a leaf, but the way the leaf blows in the breeze, that's what I say is weird. But I know a lot of people say, praying mantis eat each other when they're making love, same as spiders. But, and then there's a tailless whip scorpion that's pretty strange looking. Look terrifying, to be honest, and to give you a little scratch, but they wouldn't hurt you,
Yeah.
My field is moths, though. A lepidopterist.
Now, I got a question for you about moths.
Go ahead.
Well, I assume moths. If you were ever in a subterranean, like a mine shaft, an old mine shaft, long abandoned, and you were in the dark, pitch dark, mind you, no light whatsoever, and very dry, not a damp mine shaft, desert mine shaft, let's say Mojave, Texas, somewhere dry, and if you felt something on your face, would you say that was likely to be something living in the mine shaft? Is there any kind of moth or insect or fly that could feel almost like being caressed by a hand? What would you suspect?
Sounds like quite a disturbing experience. I wouldn't say that there aren't any subterranean moths that have so far been discovered, but that's not to say that they don't exist. But I think that seems unlikely. I suppose that could be some form of. Let me think. Maybe a crane fly or anything that, like a June bug, perhaps. But I wouldn't feel that would be a caress. Was there a noise? Is this experience you had, or a theoretical?
This is. I don't hold much with the theoretical, but in this case, let us say that it is. Well, I would say the only strange thing I would add from the account that I was given was that in the experience of the party to whom this occurred, that there was no other real signs of life down there, you see. I don't think it was a very habitable environment, but I know from being in the desert myself an awful lot that you can have all kinds of life that is not necessarily immediately visible to the casual onlooker.
Insects will survive anywhere. They are, a very resilient part of the animal kingdom.
Well,
so could well have been an insect. But a mine shaft, you're correct, is not a particularly habitable environment. That's why, to be honest, I was surprised that they wanted me to come out there with you, but I guess the groundwater might be a different matter.
Is it true what they say about moths? That they're trying to get to the moon?
It's a nice story. It's very romantic, and, there's not many romantic things said about insects of any sort, let alone moths, but no, I'm afraid it's not true they're trying to get to the moon. They do use the moon to navigate by, but...
Well, that's the one.
They're not trying to get...
No, that's the one.
I was going to say, there ain't nothing no romantic about insects trying to get to the moon. I would query their motivations.
Yes.
What do they know that we don't? These moths of yours,
well,
moon
indeed,
moths.
all sorts. I expect we'll come to discover that insectoid creatures and know all kinds of things that we don't. Their knowledge may be far superior to ours, just different kind of knowledge.
Well, I don't know so much about that. I've never seen a caterpillar riding along in a motor vehicle like we are right.
You ever heard of hive intelligence? You know the way a bee communicates through dance?
Yeah. But they don't drive a motor vehicle. They don't build a motor vehicle.
Well, they certainly don't drive a motor vehicle like Beverley here does.
Thanks.
You're doing a real good job of keeping us on the road.
Mr.
Wait a minute, Beverley's driving? I thought I was driving.
He's using my first name. Yeah. I said I was Jack, but
apologies. I'm terribly short-sighted. I thought Beverley, or excuse me, Jack was driving.
No, you knew I was Beverley because it was on the paperwork. I understand.
No, but you are driving, correct? I just take my glasses off and give them a little clean. Try and work out which of you.
It's all right, Mr. Lafitte. I'm driving, and I am Beverley, and I'm Jack. I'm more like a Beverley than a Beverley.
How good are you at driving? As a percentage.
I
need to know how I feel about your driving.
Mr. Mooney, are you asking me that, Mr. Mooney, or is Dominic out?
Oh, Mr. Mooney's smoking out the window.
Yeah, nice. Windows are rolled down, I'm assuming. I'm 60% drive.
All right, I respect your driving.
Whereas the water companies say that the black sludge coming out of the pipes is just something to not to worry about. Just another day here on Texan soil. If I could draw your attention to and police brutality causing the effects of well, hello. Oh, fuck's sake.
Oh, no, I'm back. The asphalt seemed to is cracking a lot more along here. You can tell the roads aren't very well maintained. And as you see on your right, you see this sort of ridge coming up out of the sand in the distance that you assume is the Devil's Backbone. It's the only way it's marked on the map, certainly. And you know there was a mining community around here and various other things, but you're not sure what state that's going to be in when you get there because it's so out in the sticks. It rears up like the spine of a dead lizard, sort of stuck out in the desert, and you, as the asphalt cracks in front of you in the heat haze, it sort of makes the distance impossible to gauge, really. I should mention at this point that the car's basically an oven, even with the windows open. Like, we're over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, of course.
Is that the van? Is that the 71 van?
Yeah, the Chevy.
Yeah, Chevy.
And it's it's absolutely baking. So you all look like you just stepped out of a swimming pool. Whatever you're wearing, you're drenched. It's sticking to your skin. Even though it's not even 11 in the morning, you set off at 5, let's say, from Austin, and you stopped off. But you know you're in the area, and the hot wind's sort of like doing far less than the fan belt would, which is broken, of course. The water's like drinking warm tea, and you're trying to look through the haze as you drive along. Like you were told in Marathon, like the next town is not too far, but you seem to have travelled much further than they implied. You haven't even seen so much as like a speed limit sign or a road sign in about the last 20 miles. But then you realise the gas gauge has just dipped below half a tank. So you're going to need some fuel soon, but at least you're sort of in the area. It might be slightly nervous because of the heat.
Keep your eye on that fuel gauge there, Mr. Carstairs.
Yeah.
I sure will, Mr. Mooney.
We don't want to end up high and dry and full of shit. And
Say, Mr. Mooney, you any good with maps? You remind me.
I'm not so bad with a map. Well, most of my maps are up here, young man.
Well, that one in the glove compartment, I think we should probably check it, just in case. With tapping on half fuel, I figure that maybe it's time to double-check that we are where we are. I mean, I'm confident that we are.
I unfurl this huge map of Texas all over the dashboard. And I take a small pair of reading spectacles from my damp top pocket of my half-open shirt and affix them to the end of my nose.
I think as he's doing this,
over them.
Jack Beverley Carstairs, I mean, I think you know full well that, like, on half a tank of gas, there'd be no point even turning back. So the idea of, well, let's not get stuck in the desert is a sort of moot point at this stage. It's like, we'll have to find somewhere soon.
It's more of an act, I think, of reassurance to himself.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That he is where he thinks he is. But, you know, by the description of this, the Devil's Backbone speaks volumes, doesn't it? So...
Yeah. And then you do see something as you're driving ahead. You see a glint of a sun reflection. You see this sort of what comes into view as a faded metal sign. It's like this sort of a happy-go-lucky cowboy sign. It almost looks like it could be in neon if they had the money, but they clearly don't. And it looks like it's dated back to the 1950s, from when there might have last been the uranium town surrounding the place.
the workers, and there's a cartoon word bubble above the cowboy's head that says, "You're almost there, partner." Sort of pointing off on the right, and behind it is this sort of very weathered-looking Esso logo, which you recognise, and it says,
there's a little wooden sign tacked underneath saying, 5 miles and turn right. And as you sort of follow along,
there's another sign.
Another tacked-on wooden sign that says, Abattoir, 3 miles.
The Apocalypse Players present Highway of Blood, a Call of Cthulhu scenario by Alex Guillotte, Ian Christiansen, and Davae Breon Jaxson. With Dan Wheeler as Quincy J. Lafitte, Dominic Allen as Edward Ed Mooney, Joseph Chance as Beverley Jack Carstairs, and Danann McAleer as the Keeper of Arcane Law. This is based on a true story. Part 1. The Devil's Backbone.
The escaped Zonky we mentioned earlier has been tracked down to a local park and zoo in the area.
Our Eloin, who in a crinny, I guess Rinna Shears. There's a little wooden sign tacked underneath saying, 5 miles and turn right. As you sort of follow along, there's another sign.
Another tacked-on wooden sign that says, Abattoir, 3 miles. So that sounds promising. And the sign just underneath it, as you pass, you squint out of the window, out of the sort of dank humidity of your own sweat, and you see it says gas and food. And then, I don't know, is the radio on as you're driving through? Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it's getting on your nerves, and you nervously sort of start to fiddle with the knob just because,
Bit of a change, When I think a couple of stations come on in Spanish. We might do that in post, but I don't speak Spanish, so you assume it's from across the border. And
Kerrang FM.
No, it's all scuzz now.
they sort of switch between a few new metal, a few different sort of news sites in Spanish. I don't know if any of you have Spanish.
No.
But no.
Points left over for languages? You've got to be kidding me, right? I mean, I wanted them, but no.
Yeah. Didn't we all?
I've got a bit of Latin.
Yeah. I should have some German, but I don't.
Pognok. Windshield nostalgia were, agus are all Gorius, Murius, agus Finnigan, Onegum Tua Danann.
Strange sight.
And you catch the end of quite a sort of a breathy country song, and then this guy who you've heard a couple of times in the last couple of hours, as you've shifted between the radios, you heard on the last sort of thing. You think his name's Coyote Mike. He seems to be like a regular on the local stations, and you hear his voice, which very sultry, deep Texan, trustworthy voice saying,
Welcome to another day in the 7th circle of hell, with the mercury expended to top 110 degrees here on the Devil's Backbone. Tomorrow ain't looking any better. As my old grandpa used to say, you can't change the direction of the wind, but you can always adjust your sails to reach your destination. I don't know where you're headed, my friends, but here's a little something to keep you rolling down the highway.
and he shifts effortlessly in that way that local disc jockeys do into the next song. That's a sort of uplifting country tune. And as you sort of pass over this, the road becomes more and more dust choked. It takes you over a series of hills, and around a couple of hairpin turns. That's amazing music. That's absolutely perfect. But these hairpin turns seem to come out of nowhere. And I imagine you're focusing now. You're off the main road, so I won't ask for a drive roll just yet. But it becomes slightly more chaotic, and then out of nowhere, you seem to come across this archaic wooden bridge that the highway continues over. And you get over it with no problem. But at the other side,
shit, that was scary stuff.
I didn't see a bridge on the map. I say, and I look back anxiously at Mooney, and I imagine we're all in the front. For some reason, it's like.
Yeah, I guess we probably are. If it's a van, it's probably a big bench seat, right?
Yeah, enough, four-seater in the front, maybe.
Yeah, because I think it's quite wide. It's quite a wide vehicle, right? But definitely room for those two to my right. So I imagine that Mooney's next to me. No, but Mooney said he was by the window smoking, so
absolutely.
I guess it's Lafitte next to me.
Yeah, I can imagine Lafitte squeezed in between the two of you. Not at all offended. Like he's perfectly genial, sort of like squeezed up like this.
And I keep leaning across you to have a look at the map, the edges of the map, because it takes up the whole dashboard.
Yeah.
And it's really small, really small print.
Blocks out the right-hand rear. The right-hand mirror, of course, but, who needs that?
I don't think bridges are marked on this map. There is no key for bridges, so I don't think they got them. I think they just draw a line and expect you to know what that means.
Well, that bridge was quite a bridge, right? I turn and I look Lafitte for a second too long, as I'm driving quite fast still. I look for a second too long at you, Lafitte, and I say, more like a bridge than a bridge, right? And I just nod. And then my eyes go back onto the road.
I say, that was a bridge?
Yeah, and
out of nowhere, I finish my cigarette, flick it out the window, stick my head out the window and go,
wow.
Apropos of nothing.
I don't know what that was like for you guys, but mine just cut out all sound, so I have to imagine it was
mine was like someone underwater wrestling something. It was amazing and loud. It was good.
Don't it feel great to be alive?
Do you want your drive roll for that?
No. Do you know what? I'll assume you're okay, unless you feel shocked enough.
I do jump in my seat.
Yeah,
and then
oh yeah.
Okay, and then I punch the dashboard suddenly and go, God damn it! I wish we'd brought ourselves a dog with us.
And the car explodes. But as you reach the end of this wooden rickety bridge and you turn around this rocky corner, and you know that there's been the sign for abattoir, so at least there'll be food and gas if the sign's still correct. You may have done this while I was off, but could you give me like a brief description of your characters as they sit there sweating under the hot, almost midday sun?
Well, after my outburst and saying about the dog, I then sit back and start rolling another cigarette, slumped in the corner, and I'm sort of tittering to myself. As I roll this cigarette, I've got a huge white beard.
The old prospector.
And it's dripping
over the shoulder.
Yeah, this huge white beard that's like matted with sweat and yellowed all around my mustache with nicotine stains. My hair is actually like almost like a military style cut.
Like a buzz cut.
Not quite a buzz cut, but like an old fashioned, like a 30s, like really clipped,
real short back and sides.
Yeah. I'm very weather beaten. My skin is very like tanned and cracked, which makes me look a lot older than my 53 years. And I'm wearing a thin white shirt that's open almost down to the navel, and it's almost transparent with sweat. The sleeves are always rolled right up, and I've taken my braces off so they're hanging around my sides, and I'm just wearing some old, like,
scuba mask,
dungaree style, not dungarees, but like old-fashioned jeans.
Workman's overalls, or like
sort of that kind
more
of
that
vibe.
sort of thing.
But I look like It looks like from another era. It looks like I'm like in World War II or something, like an engineer in World War II.
Fast-talking high trousers.
Yeah, and is there anything?
And as we panned from the, give me anything.
Oh, just that, and yeah, I'm rolling this cigarette frantically as tobacco drifts down gets lost in my beard somewhere as I'm bouncing around in this van, tittering to myself, and you can see all my wiry muscles, very lean and tight.
Yes, I've got a good image. And as the camera facing the windscreen, of course, from in front, pans left, who do we see sat in the middle seat?
So in the middle you see Quincy J. Lafitte, who's he's got a really sort of benevolent smile on his face. He's sort of hunched over a little bit. He's wearing a suit, but it's kind of ill-fitting. He just looks, the sort of shape of him that you can see under the suit kind of is the shape of a man for whom a suit will never fit, no matter how expensive it is.
I know his feeling.
He's really he's really kind of skinny and wiry, and he's quite skinny, but yet kind of sort of bony, and he's got these big glasses, like thick lens glasses. So the whole combination, it gives him these sort of like bug eyes. So he does look like an insect.
Like Stephen Merchant with extras.
Yeah, the way he's hunched over, and one of his eyes is slightly lazy, and it looks like it's sort of moving independently from the other.
Wow.
But he's not like he's not hideous. He's
a social
very
role.
unusual. No, he's very unusual. It's sort of very unusual looking. But his hair is sort of slicked down nicely. He's clean shaven. He looks like he's made an effort to.
Yeah.
He looks after himself. He smells of soap. And he's what else to tell you about him? He seems like there's something about him that seems like he's not just like an insect geek. It looks like there might be like a bit of edge to him as well, in terms of like where he's from, and that's partly the way you hear him speak. He doesn't speak like a normal zoology professor. He's from a slightly more rough background.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. I forgot a really important detail about my appearance.
Go on.
I have a livid, bright red, livid scar that runs from the corner of my mouth almost up to my ear. Mm-hmm. So it looks like I've got this constant kind of lopsided grin, even when I'm not smiling. It's slightly unnerving, but from a distance it looks like I'm just kind of like
almost like a sailor
the whole time. Yeah,
but unnervingly so. Yeah, great.
Sorry.
Any distinguishing features for Mr. Lafitte?
Apart from his like bug eyes.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, yeah.
And his antenna.
You will have noticed when he got into the car, when he got into the van, that he walks with quite a pronounced limp.
Oh yeah.
No, he's like apart from his thick glasses, he's clean shaven, sort of smart. His hair is quite smartly slicked, sort of salt and pepper kind of colour.
Love it.
So Beverley John Carstairs tends to introduce himself as Jack, just to avoid the conflict that comes with calling himself Beverley, which is his name given to him by his mother. He is in his early 30s. He has sandy, golden brown, curly hair. It's not worn terribly long, but it does come down to his collar. So it's a little bit Apollonian, and in fact, there's a whole aspect of his face that suggests that he's really, really good looking. But then, if you look at his face more carefully, you realize that his eyes seem to be a little deep set, and his mouth seems to just be a little too wide. And the more you look at his mouth, the more uncomfortable you feel.
He's sort of like an AI generated. If you typed in the prompt "handsome man,"
he's like an artificially
too closely.
generated handsome man. There might be there might just be a whiff of Lego about him, but but then as soon as you touch onto that whiff of Lego, you feel that Lego belongs to another person in another time in another place. But he does come from Maine, and you can't necessarily tell that by looking at him. But that person in the other time and place would almost certainly be in Maine. He's wearing a cheesecloth shirt, which is undone by about 5 buttons. He did take his tank top off after about 3 hours of driving. It was totally soaked with sweat by then.
And wrung it out the window.
Yeah, exactly. He wears fashionable flared jeans. He's about I guess average height in those days. He's about 5'11", so he's taller than average. Taller than average. He's got very wide shoulders. Looks strong. Looks like he still works out. Every now and then his eyes stay too long in one place. Like he might be thinking about something important to him, but it's always inappropriate to what he's actually doing. Very, very bright blue eyes. Very blue, very clear blue. I think that's it.
I love it. Piercing.
Yeah, piercing blue eyes.
Great. And so the camera hands left again and swerves around to face the direction the van's traveling in, the Chevy. And you're back on another long stretch of road, but you can see now, even through the heat sort of shimmer, you can see another sign on the right and a road that leads off, a dust road. There's a sign saying, "Welcome to Abattoir." And beneath that says, "Population 850. Although the sign's very old, so you imagine old enough that it clearly hasn't been updated to reflect any recent births or deaths, you'd imagine. And I assume you turn off? I mean, considering you're on less than half a tank of gas and...
I think it's time to turn back.
Wait, I mean...
Camp on that rickety bridge.
Shouldn't we see if they've got gas here?
Absolutely.
Say, I thought it was an abattoir that the sign was for. I didn't realize that was the name of the town.
We was all thinking the same thing there, Jack. I'm not gonna lie.
Speak for yourselves. I didn't even see no sign.
Well, I was thinking abattoir. I was thinking abattoir, gas, and food. Turns out it's gas and food in abattoir.
Two things that are plentiful in abattoirs, but it seems from these last two signs that the town itself may be called Abattoir. And you take the sort of dust road off on the right, and you hit a couple of rocks, or there's a bit of bump on the roads, but doesn't seem like anything too major.
I gotta say, America's a big old place. But it's funny, we've all run out of so many names that we have to call a place Abattoir.
Well, the last town, I believe, was called Marathon. That's equally strange name. Obviously,
I would argue this could have easily been called New Marathon, and we'd have been all right.
Very good point.
Isn't there a Troy in Texas?
I think that I've met a lot of people called Troy.
You might have thought they would have kept the old Greek thing going. Jesus, is this even got a tarmac on it? Asphalt. Has this even got asphalt on it?
Did they name it Abattoir for the smell? He says, sort of
As you ask yourself, it does have asphalt, this side road leading off towards Abattoir, but it's so cracked to the point that it's half dust, half desert sand blown over, and the heat's still beating down on you.
I'm going to strap myself in because I didn't have my belt on. Good idea. Strap myself into and I'm going to turn to the other two and say, you might want to buckle up.
And do you?
I mean, it's entirely up to them.
It's the 70s.
I mean,
I look around. If there is a seatbelt in the middle, I'm not sure there would be. I sort of brace myself, seat in the dash.
Well, luckily, I don't require a drive roll just at this moment. You're just under that situation. Although Dom's response did remind me of, was it the student who famously protested vociferously against the seatbelt being introduced as a law and then was killed in a car crash? Can't remember his name now. American
true.
student.
That's actually true.
Phenomenal.
That's
phenomenal
that's
story.
Amazingly tragic.
Yeah. I know.
Wow. Just wow.
But luckily that doesn't happen this time. You sort of, as you come up, you see sort of buildings dotted around on your right. You see sort of scattered old buildings, a mixture of like brick and wood. Some sort of canvas constructions, and then in front of you is quite clearly this Esso garage. Yeah, you. So as you pass towards it, you see this other road pass off to your right, and it seems to, at a glance, it looks like what might be the main street, the main drag, as they have in Norfolk, and you see like various buildings dotted along there and sort of hanging signs.
I study the hedgerow for buoys and bears.
Yeah.
Fallen trees.
A big red-faced, gangly-looking figure screams and runs away into the hills. But so as you pull up at the gas station, it's clearly quite a decrepit old building. It's got like the sign's old, it's faded. There's like a cardboard open sign hanging against the window. The windows are filthy. And you can see as you stop the two gas pumps, they're like, they seem like they'd be functional, but they're pretty archaic. There's one of the garage doors is open. There's a 74 Chevy Nova up on the lift. No one working on it. It all seems rather, decrepit is the word. There's a row of oil cans sat against the wall, but there's like dark stains in the dirt around them, so it looks like one or more of them might have leaked out. It's not like doesn't look like a place that functions a huge amount, which might just be due to its, remote location. But sitting in the front of the station under the shade of this like corrugated iron roof, there's two guys like that, sort of like really sort of weather-beaten looking fellas, very wrinkled, and they sort of just slowly watch you drive up and spit a bit of tobacco, maybe light a cigarette, one of them, and like they don't make a move towards your car or anything.
Say, Mr. Mooney, is this going to be a DOE, or am I going to put it in my pocketbook?
Charge it to the government. Fuck them.
If you're happy with that, I know that.
I don't think there's a man in the United States wouldn't be happy with it, except they're a government man, which I am, and I don't care. So,
well, so long as I can say to the Environmental Protection Agency that I fought a good fight when it came to the gas. You happy with that, Mr. Lafitte?
Yeah, funny man, Mr. Carstairs.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I'm just along for the ride. I
know you'd like to keep the peace. You like to keep the peace.
Disposal.
I don't want to make you the middleman or nothing.
Well, you shouldn't have sat me here.
I smile an horrifically wide grin.
Oh, this man's a comedian as well. Lucky to be on this journey.
And I just hold it for a few seconds too long, and then I just drop it, and my eyes are kind of dead. And then I go to the door, and I open the door. Oh, I'm not sure my legs are going to work, but let's give them a try. And I sort of pop them out, and I leap down, and I do a sort of little cheerlead dance. and shake it out. And I undo my
One
shirt.
of the men, a sort of bald, pot-bellied fella, sort of spits again and just carries on
I
stepping.
undo my shirt entirely and I take it off. And I have a beautiful torso.
Amazing.
He spits again because the sputum is clearly, he's just salivating now.
Yeah.
Oh, I jest.
I'm combining a 75 strength with 65 appearance and a 65 size to create
You're a handsome,
handsome
specimen.
Like my face, don't look at it for too long, but there's something about his chest. Yeah. I've got a little pendant. Or a medallion that swings in the light golden fur of my breast.
I slip out after you and say, I'm just going to stretch my legs, and I sort of land awkwardly on one leg and kind of unfold, like almost like my joints work the wrong way, and like limp away across the forecourt. And I am combining strength 25, appearance 35, size 55.
Luckily, I'm just barking
They're
mad.
all drawn to you, like moths to a flame.
I
I genuinely don't have enough strength to actually support my own average size.
I'm oblivious.
I hop out of the cab with not so much as a sigh or a groan, and bound over to the guys who stood there spitting.
Nice.
And I'm already rolling another cigarette on the forecourt. And I say, well, howdy do? How's it going, fellas? I say, we was just driving along here, and we couldn't help but notice that your town is called Abattoir. What a strange name. There must be a story there, and I'd love to hear it. Cigarette?
There's two guys like that. There's only one who was spitting, and he sort of declines the offer silently.
I used to chew myself, but well, I ain't got no many teeth left to do it, so I have to suck now.
He says, all right, and he spits again. And then the guy next to him this guy's got like sort of
I nod
broken
admiringly.
tooth, pot belly. Yeah. And then the other guy is just silent as well, but he's got more closely cropped, like grey hair. You can tell he's got navel tattoos and stuff like that. It looks a bit more hard boiled, and he sort of goes, yeah, and offers his hand out for a cigarette.
Yeah, I hand it to him, start rolling another one. Where do you get those, that ink there, sir?
Well, yeah.
That's,
in the military.
See my Jaxson? Big one?
Yeah, bits and pieces there and then. I don't like talking about it much. Do I, Joe? And Joe's the guy next to him with the broken teeth and sort of the balding pate and the pot belly sort of spits again and goes, he don't like talking much at all, no. But I can tell you about where I got mine. And he shows you his arm, and he's got a tiny little tattoo compared to the other guys. And it's of a truck, but it looks like it was drawn by a child. And he goes, I got that for driving the longest long-haul distance. I went all the way from... And he starts talking, you get the impression he may never stop talking. And he says, I went all the way from... I went from Big Bend National Park all the way up to Albuquerque, and then we dropped off there, and then we went all the way up. We went through New Mexico, up through there. I ended up in New York before I was finished, Syracuse. And folks around here ain't ever heard nothing like it. But, what brings you here? And he spits again and adds another clump of chewing tobacco.
Just to find out what brings us here. That's exactly what brings us here.
I don't understand much about what you're saying, but,
Not many do. I just wish we'd brought ourselves a dog.
Yeah. And he laughs in a very similar vein to you, but the guy you gave the cigarette to with the close-shaved grey hair sort of remains quite silent and quite stoic looking.
This your gas station?
No.
This is just the place to be, I guess. I like that.
Well, no, this ain't our gas station. I'll tell you that. Well, my name's Nate. It's a pleasure to meet you.
Joe and Nate,
Patterson.
nice to meet you.
I got the best stories in the town. If you ever want stories around the town, this here's my friend Steve. Steve Brown. He don't talk so much. because he was in the war, you know. But
I thought you said his name was Joe.
No, I never said that.
My memory ain't so good.
I don't think I said that. If I did, I was wrong.
I'm Ed Mooney. People call me the Miner.
Oh, nice to meet you. The Miner? Well, what you doing out here?
I don't do that sort of mining no more. I do all sorts of different crazy things. But the name stuck for some reason.
Intriguing, crazy things. Yeah. And at this point, of the other two of you, what have you been doing? Have you been checking out the pumps, or have you been sort of walking up to join Ed?
I think I've just been sort of taking a little stroll around the forecourt, sort of gazing out over the heat haze.
Yeah.
I think after the explosion of myself out of the van, I've been quite, in fact, very focused, going to each of the pumps, seeing if either of them is working, checking that they may have some kind of gauge that is going to tell me how much this is going to cost, or...
Yeah. Oh, they are working, yeah. And as you hear Ed Mooney sort of discoursing with these two, well, mainly with one of these two old fellas sat outside the station, you hear a voice from inside the open garage door.
Well, I was going to say, I might just pause. I might just pause rather than before kind of grabbing anything. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
It's more the sense of, like, obviously this is the time of attendance too. So I might just sort of, I might do a little last stretch, but then just kind of stand and look to see if anyone's going to come out.
Yes, for sure. And he doesn't, it's not that he's berating you for touching the pumps or anything, but you hear this voice from inside the garage sort of saying, you looking for fuel? And this guy wanders out. And you see this as well, Ed and Quincy. And he is quite a slender guy. Sort of salt and pepper hair, quite lean, but very clean overalls for a mechanic. Got sort of oil rag hanging at the back of his back pocket. He says, I can fill her up for you. No problem at all.
That would be real kind. Didn't want to take you away from the, is that a 68 or a 71 Chevy?
71. You got a good eye.
71. Yeah, but if you want to carry on with that, I'm happy to fill her up.
Absolutely. Well, you want to look into as well? I mean, you want that fixed, don't you? And you see he's looking down towards the back left of the vehicle.
I think my face becomes like that of a child's in that moment. and I suddenly look incredibly anxious. And then the mask goes back on. And I say, oh, I didn't know if there was any trouble. Let me see. We may well want that fixed, yes.
He looks at you quite kind-heartedly. It's not like he thinks, oh, here's a chump. But he sort of says, it's all right. The roads around here are rough enough not to notice at first, but you got a flat there at the back.
Oh.
And he goes around to the back, and he goes, and another. Don't suppose you got any spares. I got one in here. I could rustle up another from the old scrapyard. But these two tires ain't taking you nowhere. Do you not feel a bump at all on that last road?
Well, gee whiz. I did feel a bump, that's right. And that bridge was quite... Well, let's just say that it was quite the experience. And I scratched my head like a sort of... like an 11-year-old. And I look over... I don't look at him, I look over at Mooney, who mentioned that thing about driving. And I look down at the wheel and I go, well, I don't think the department's going to cover it, and I know the agency won't want to. You mind if I talk to my two colleagues about this? Do you? Yeah, we're going to need. Of
course.
I think we got one spare, but we'll need the other one. And I say that, and I'm not 100% sure. Do I have one spare?
Could you do me? Well, is there a luck roll to be done? Maybe a group luck roll to see if you do have a spare tire?
Luck, I love it.
Group luck. Mine is...
Who's got the lowest
55.
luck?
It's always me.
Mine's 70. 55 is the lowest luck. That's the kind of group I like. Dude, that's really unlucky. 55 is a good luck. I mean, that's...
Yeah.
We've had 35, right?
Here we go. Yeah, 42.
Oh, great. So you say, yeah, well, we gotta... I guess that's you coming back, perhaps, Quincy, as he asks you that question, saying, yeah, I'm sure we got a spare. Is it your vehicle, to be clear? Okay.
No.
No, it's not. Okay, great. Is it Jack's vehicle? I can't remember.
I think it's been given to me by the in the environmental
government.
Protection Agency, but I drive it regularly, so I know it.
Yeah, you'd know that there
it
is.
It feels
one,
like it's mine. I think, and
right.
And so I say I'm pretty sure we've got one. No, but I mean, like I don't think he did know, and I think he suddenly
no.
If he could sweat any more, he would sweat more and go like, shit, I didn't know that very well, did I? But I think we swing open the back. I swing open the back and I point to it, to the guy, like a little, like a boy who's done something wrong. And I go, I've just got this one. Anyway, and I close that up and I go, say, Mr. Lafitte, Mr. Mooney,
sure.
We got a couple of done tires here. They're real bust out.
Oh no, ain't that the darndest thing? This kind gentleman able to replace one of them for us? You got a spare?
I'm sure I can. I might just have to hop over to the rec yard nearby. It's only but a 5-minute trek, and I'll have a look for you. You got one here. I'll find the next one. But let me fit this one first.
A rest room we could use while you work on it?
Just inside the shop. You crack on.
We got a cup of coffee as well while we're here.
I ain't got no coffee machine. Might have a couple of cold beers out back somewhere.
Oh, well, that'd be even better, to be honest.
Yeah. And he turns around and says, "Here, Nate, Steve," and Ed will hear that being said. He'll notice them being sort of called to attention and say, "You got a spare can or two for these gentlemen here? I'm just trying to fix up there. They got 2 flats." And the silent one. So he goes, "Yeah, I'll grab them from inside." And he pushes open the sort of filthy open door, goes inside, leaving Ed with the talkative trucker. Who said, "Ed, I was saying, by the time we reached Syracuse, I couldn't understand what I got to. I was starting to hallucinate, but blah, blah, blah." And he's talking away. The other two of you, you don't know this guy's name yet, but he turns around and he says, "By the way, my name is Russ. Folks around here call me Russell. Russ Williams. It's the name. Pleasure to meet you."
Nice,
and he sort of extends a sort of slightly tremoring hand, and he says, "Now, I'll get you fixed up as soon as possible. Now, let's get on this." And he sort of goes back into the garage where the car's lifted up and start pulling stuff out. You can see it's like a jack and a tire iron and stuff.
I think I might, if we've opened the back of the van to get the spare tire out, I might get out my butterfly net and just sort of wander around the perimeter of the...
Thought it was the butterfly knife you were going to go for. It's like, shit! They're supposed to be the grindhouse villains, right?
My butterfly net.
Yeah. Okay.
And I just sort of might wander around the edge of the forecourt.
Yeah.
You know, he's got. So I should explain Quincy's eyesight. It's quite strange. He is short-sighted and he does have these thick glasses, but at relatively short distances, his eyesight is perfect. He's very good at spotting small things moving quite close. It's why he got into entomology, because he was forced to study things close up. So when I do my first spot hidden roll and you're surprised that it's as high as it is.
Yeah.
That's to explain it. But distance stuff I'm always going to struggle with, but close up on.
But the senses compensate, don't they? Right? The fact that it's only sort of
quite.
That circle. He what's his? Is his hearing okay? Tip top.
Yeah,
right?
it's
He's
not
only
special.
49.
His listen is 45 and his spot hidden is 60. So yeah, his senses are
he's smart. He's smart as
It's just just a distance thing.
In fact, as he
so-
sort of shakes his head to make sure his listening's all right, you hear this rusty sort of whine, a high-pitched whine, and you see what the other two have probably clocked already. There's like an old rusty Coca-Cola machine on the side that seems to be sort of struggling to its last breath, and a cigarette machine next to it with a big sign on it, again saying out of order. Well, you're there by the car whilst Russo, as he told him to call you, has gone inside to find the equipment to fix up your tyres. And
I just want to keep quizzing this guy.
Yeah, I think I take it from their lead, and if Mr. Mooney's still off, if Ed's still off, then I think I look to Quincy, and I think I walk over towards him a little stiffly, and I say, I'm real sorry about this. Must have been the way I took that bridge. First one, I think maybe I did feel that bump, but second one, damn it.
Son, there's no need to apologize.
As he's talking to me, I just turn. And is that rude? I interrupt him. But maybe you carry on, I don't know. And I just walk back to squat down and look at the wheel. And I'm looking for nails.
I was saying we have roads like this back in Florida. I don't think you need to be ashamed of your driving. I was quite impressed with how smooth you took it, considering how rough the roads are out here. So
I stopped looking for nails.
And as he talks on, I'm not even going to ask you for a spot hidden, because you're looking for exactly what you find. You find a large, rusty iron nail, just the head of it on the surface of the flattened tyre. And if you go around to the other one, you find the same thing after spinning it around in that. So there's two rusty nails embedded in that are clearly the reason they're deflated.
I'd like to do an engineering check to see the percentage chances of getting two rusty nails. I will leave it up to you, keeper of the arcane hotlands, the arcane Texas Westlands. As
to do what you're trying to do to remove them.
I want to work out the percentage chances of getting not one puncture but two from some random rusty nails.
I see.
It's the kind of
Sure.
It's the kind of mathematical quiz that I think our man, Mr. Jack Carstairs, Beverley likes this kind of arithmetic. I look back at Lafitte and I say, I'm real sorry. I didn't listen to that last bit. I'm just thinking about the chances of us getting two nails in two tires on a road like this.
Yeah.
I mean, two away from a fumble. So.
Oh, wow.
You're right there. Did you inhale a fly?
Cracking fail.
So you, you can't really tell. Your mind goes through certain things and you're like, well, that does seem strange. But at the same time, I guess it makes sense if two nails were next to each other, could be off a plank of wood that's the same plank of wood. We weren't really paying attention. You can't.
Basically, I say to Lafitte,
logical deduction.
What are the chances? What are the chances? And I take. Can I take one of the nails out? Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just got this nail, and I stand next to him, and I just keep looking at the nail.
It's just a rusty, big iron nail.
I pass it over to you, and I say, more like a nail than a nail, huh?
And I take it, and I say, a bee may sting only once because it leaves its stinger behind. A wasp stings over and over. Feels like maybe our truck here got stung by a wasp.
I lean in really close and I say, do they dance too, the wasps?
I'm afraid not.
No, figures.
They're solitary creatures, wasps. Well, some kind of bees are as well. The wood bee is a solitary creature. But no, it's honeybees that dance.
Fancy that beer?
The waggle dance, they call it.
Waggle dance. I said, you fancy that beer?
Speaking of waggle dance,
as you're talking, you hear a burst from the radio. A radio starts up near you, coming out of the garage, and you hear Coyote Mike's voice again, saying,
Well, thanks again for joining us. those of you who want a little boogie and want a little dance, I hope you've not been stung by those folks we told you about earlier. You know, it's easy to get stung, but it's even easier to forgive in the eyes of the Lord. So let's have a little boogie in the name of that.
And sticks on another track that's like really sort of, and you see Russo coming out with the wireless, and he says, "Hope you don't mind, like to have it on while I work on the car." And they all get up and start doing a burn down.
Can I give when there was his Steve?
The one you're talking to is Nate. He's the one who's talkative. He's like,
Nate. Yeah. I give him a nudge with my elbow and go, say now, that Coyote Mike, you know him? He must be based around here.
Oh, yeah, no, he's not based around here, but he's one of the, I think he's got I don't know how, someone explained it to me once, scientific fellow who came through. I think he was on the way to some mines or something. He had a great brain on him, but he explained it. He said he had a higher push rate or something like that on his, he had a higher, I don't know how he said it. He could reach more people. I've heard you can get Coyote Mike up in New York.
So you don't know where exactly Coyote Mike is based?
Well, I think probably a Marathon, but that would be my guess. He's just a comforting voice.
Makes a lot of sense.
Like him, man.
Say, I just got a hankering, a wild, violent desire to do a crossword. You ain't got a newspaper.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. And then the other fella comes back out with a few cans. They don't look exactly cold, but they look cold enough to, I mean, compared to the heat you've been in, they look absolutely delicious. Steve, the silver-haired guy with the tattoos, and he sort of hands you one and says, "Hey, and one for your friends as well." And he says, oh, Steve, do you know where Coyote Mike's based? He says, "I don't know. I don't listen much to that wireless except when it's on here." And he heads over to Quincy and Jack and hands them both a...
let me pay for these. My treat.
A Pabst Blue Ribbon. No, that's fine.
Oh no, please! I really.
Listen, they're on the house. They're on the house. We don't get many visitors through here.
Oh well, that's most kind.
And he walks off and sits back next to his mate. And so then you've got Russo there, and he says, "Well, you got two holes here in the tires, but I don't see what might have caused them. Could have just been a spark on the road or something that, yeah, interesting." And he sort of wipes his face with the oil rag and says, "Let's have a look at the other one." And he goes around, he pulls out the nail within the matter of a few seconds. And he says, "Oh, what bad luck, what bad luck." And he tucks it into his pocket and says, "Well, you got your spare. I'll head over to the yard just over there, and it shouldn't take long to find one that would match your van, maybe an hour or two, if you don't mind staying here."
No, of course.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Forgive me. I'm sure you know your business, but you don't have a single tire in this place that would fit our van?
No, well, nearby, the dirty around back, Wayland's, there'll definitely be a car there with a tire that we could use to match it. I just don't have a matching one here. It'll be a matter of 10 minutes, 15 minutes, something like that.
Oh, good. Not an hour or two.
Well, I can't promise, but we'll have one somewhere. We'll get it to you as soon as possible. Yeah.
Lafitte, do you have mechanical repair? Should we do a mechanical repair likelihood roll, the two of us?
I mean, I can do. I don't really have any mechanical repair. As a player, I remember our keeper telling us that there was a van up on being worked on. I'm just surprised that the garage wouldn't have tire. But that's
the car's a Chevy, but it's a slightly different brand. But you can see behind the Esso garage, you can see a huge yard of cars. There's clearly a lot of parts and stuff, and it's just behind the garage. So,
if it's just behind, then that makes a little bit more sense that they might not have to keep anything on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe I'm not that concerned by that then.
As a player, my Jazz Honda broke down in Norfolk, and I had to wait a day for my one tire. So I'm just going to throw that in as my. Can I get a bonus die on my mechanical repair for that?
Go for it.
Bonus die. So 42, 91.
I'm just going to allow it.
91, 21. I think I'm convinced, right? It's it's not that easy. It's not that easy. 71. It's a 4-year-old van. This place looks like it hasn't seen action since the 1960s.
They might have something.
They'll have something that they can.
It might not be that easy to find.
But it won't even be that good to fit. It's it'll be some.
They might have to adjust.
And I think he's that kind of highly strung guy that he immediately, as soon as this guy Rosso turns away, I think I go over to Lafitte, right next to him again. That little too close thing that I've just done once already, and I say, listen, it can be really hard to find tires sometimes. I'm a bit worried that he might not even be able to find one that won't last us more than 50 miles. I don't know.
I'm sure it can be quite hard to locate tires, but I don't know. I can't remember looking at the map how much further we got to go. Might it just make us, make the distance to the next stop?
I'm so mesmerized. I'm so mesmerized.
Dan is going cross-eyed, and it's utterly horrific.
I'm so mesmerized by the cross eyes as he leans in that I just have to say, I'm sorry, can you say that again?
I said I can't remember how far it may be to our next stop, so perhaps a temporary fix on the wheel would do the trick. I don't know.
He reminded me awfully of a zookeeper.
Oh, my uncle was a
zookeeper.
My uncle Francis Lafitte. They used to call him Romeo.
Mr. Mooney. Mr. Mooney, is that?
As you're having this discussion, Russ sort of comes out and he says, well, I'll go back round to the rec yard, see if I'll be able to find something relatively soon. You'll be right here for a little while at least, you'll be right here. And he sort of looks to Nate and the other guy.
Has anyone got a newspaper? I'd just like to read the news.
The pot-bellied guy you've been talking to, the trucker, says, "Yeah, you can get a newspaper. They'll probably be down at the bar, down at the motel bar. They'd have them down there, down at the last stop, they call it. That's the place for food and news and all that stuff. It's only a way along there."
I'm gonna go get myself a newspaper. So if anyone wants to accompany me, I'm gonna be walking down to this. How far are we talking here, stranger?
Russo sort of says, well, you could, but you'd be better off waiting till the next stop or going back marathon way. I don't know what brought you down here, but the food here ain't so good, and I don't.
I'm not looking for food. You must have cloth in your ears. I'm looking for a newspaper.
Right. Well, Nate here might be right then. I suppose that might be the best place to get one. Yeah.
Oh, can I do a psychology roll on this man to see if he is talking exclusively about the quality of the food, or is he warning me about something else?
No, feel free.
Excellent question. Is that the kind of thing that we could join in on, or is that?
Well, you've witnessed this, the conversation, so I'd say yeah.
I mean, I'm weird, but I'm not good at engaging, but I do observe. Is that nothing?
Oh, yeah, okay. That's a 13 on my
69 on a 20.
Wow.
Oh my God, none of us are good at psychology.
None of us, we're a bunch of scientists.
If he was an insect, I might.
I love it.
Jack, sort of, you're intrigued, but you don't really get a sense of him. You haven't, I think you're still thinking about the nails and how
I just rolled for
unlikely
the
or
hell of it, and I
likely.
rolled a 0.6, so actually.
Oh, really? So Quincy and Ed,
Wasted roll.
you get the impression from him that he's a hardened guy, but he seems to be warning you away from the last stop. There's something in the timbre of his voice that was like, it seemed like he was grasping at straws with the food being bad.
Not so specific.
You might be imagining it, and maybe he's just jealous. Maybe he has a local rivalry with the guy, but he seems to be saying, "Oh, you'd be better off avoiding that place." You get the sense that there's a slight element of, if not fear, then concern that he's got something against the.
I follow it up with
Say, I'm sorry, I keep going on about Coyote Mike. I'm absolutely fascinated. That last thing he said, did that make sense to you? Because it made not a hind bit of sense to me. The thing he said about watch out for those people out there.
I have to confess, I don't think I was listening that close.
But do you know what he was referring to if I told you that's what he said?
Watch out for those people out there that you can't trust, folks, in general, that you should be on guard.
I see you're thinking there. I see it was Nate, was it?
No, I'm Russo.
You're
I'm
Steve.
The fellow who runs
You're
the
Russo.
place.
Oh, right, okay.
Steve
My
and
memory
Nate, they
ain't
just
so
sit
good.
out front, don't you, lads? And one of them just spits, and the other one goes, all right.
Well, I see what you're getting at. And you're getting at the general. But I have felt that it had something of the specific about it. Maybe that's my paranoia. I do get awful jumpy sometimes. Don't know why.
Well,
just do.
As you say that, he sort of chuckles, not nervously, but sort of conversationally, and he gets down on a knee to like look at the tires and the one he's just rolled out, and he sets the radio down and he goes, well, I don't know general from specific. I just listen to the music. I don't know this fella.
I lean down next to him, not getting down on my knee, but just leaning over him, so my beard is kind of touching his face, and I just say,
because I've seen some things, I've seen crazy things out in the desert sometimes, and I just worry sometimes that, you gotta be careful, ain't you?
Yeah.
You gotta be damn careful.
Weirdly,
I'm going to this bar. God, I wish I had a dog.
However creepy you just were, oddly, he reacts quite calmly and just sort of chuckles along with you and says, yeah, we all seen things out in that desert. Anyway, I'll get on with this. And starts concentrating on the car.
I call back. I start walking off in what I assume is the direction of the bar. And I call back and go, maybe it was me you saw. Maybe it was me.
And he looks up.
Maybe it was
He
me.
looks up at you and smiles quite gently and just shakes his head just slightly and looks back to the tire.
I just stand there and stare at him for quite a while.
Yeah.
And then I look back to the others and I go,
I'm just going to pop down to this bar and get myself a newspaper. Anyone want
And
anything?
Nate, the talkative trucker sort of goes, no, I'm all right, partner, but you help yourself. You might find yourself a newspaper down there or whatever you guys are looking for, whether it's an egg breakfast or a bacon sandwich. It's up to you. You get on that. And the other guy...
I was talking to my colleagues, friend, but I can get you something too, should you
When he
need
said
it.
the two guys, I assumed the guys on the bench. But he says that regardless. You can feel free to ignore it.
I look at Lafitte and I say, do you think it's always like this around here?
It does seem somewhat, well, I hate to use the word backward because I know that's the word people would have used to describe the place where I grew up, but that is, let's face facts, it is somewhat backward around here, and
It's all right, I come from Maine.
oh, well, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Do you think we should all wander down to this motel bar, see if we can get a bite?
I'm nodding at you and I point at Mooney and I say, we're with you, Mooney. Let's go. It's okay, we'll bring these bottles back. I imagine they're bottles, they were probably cans, were they? Pabst? blue ribbon. Is that what were they cans?
I think that's what he said. Yeah.
3
No
cans of
cans.
Pabst Blue Ribbon. Yeah.
So we don't retcon that. I gesture with the can. I say, "We'll bring these bottles back," and then I look at them and go, "Damn it, sorry." Anyways,
And they
Your
go,
eyes are worse than mine.
no wonder you hit them nails.
And then chuckles away.
say, Mr. Mooney.
What? Are you talking to me? You want me to wait for you?
I shake my head and I
I'll
put
wait
my hand in
here.
my pocket and I take out a really damp $5 bill.
A really damp fire eye.
Yeah, that
Shoot
too.
him.
That too. And I waft the bill as I walk over to Rosso and I say, "This okay for deposit?"
Oh, yeah, that'll do nicely. Thank you so much, sir. And he sort of takes it and tucks it into the front of his very clean overalls.
Yeah.
Says, if you are going down to, the last stop, yeah, just be on your guard. Folks around here, they don't like strangers, you know?
Sure.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
No, thanks for the warning.
I know we don't look like bunch of scientists, but I believe we can take care of ourselves. Thank you very much for your concern, though.
That's all right. And then he leaves you to walk off.
Despite my limp, I'm relatively sprightly. It's kind of like an obvious limp, but it doesn't really slow me down much, perhaps. So maybe we're probably all keeping up
And as you
with each other.
as you make your way down the sort of dust road, you see it's sort of what was called the main road, but there's just a few buildings spreading out in front of you, maybe a dozen. You sort of go past, on your left, you go past what looks like a kid's playground, but all of the equipment's quite rusty. There's no kids there playing. And you go past a sort of a general store. Looks like it is a big sign saying Mather's General Store. There's Bob's Barber Shop, and there's a sort of town hall and post office building that looks slightly bigger than the rest. And then, just on your left, you come up and it's you see the last shop. The last stop. It says Bar and Beds. Looks like quite a low-slung sort of saloon type thing.
The entire walk, I've got my arm around Jack's shoulders, and I occasionally poke him with the butt of my cigarette as I make a point. And I'm wittering on the entire walk.
Just giving him cigarette burns.
No.
Right.
It's not lit. I'm just sort of poking him with it occasionally to illustrate my points about things.
As you get towards the last stop, you do see there's a few local folks sat around. No one seems to be doing very much except sitting out and chewing or smoking. But as you approach the bar on your left, you see a group of there's 3 on one side, 2 on the other side, locals, very covered in dust. And you're also you see their weather-beaten faces, and you're reminded, as if you needed a reminder, that since you're out of the car and you're out of the cover of the sort of
Thinking hot.
corrugated shelter of the petrol station, the temperature is ridiculous. You feel like you're cooking out in the open.
Is it around midday, did you say?
It's around midday now. You arrived about 11, so it's getting towards midday. And, it's like you can see sheens of heat mirage in the distance, but you see these folks and they're sort of sat out in it as if they have never heard the word skin cancer. But even they are sort of sweating their tits off in overalls. And they're sort of smoking, but you even see a couple of them sort of whispering to each other, saying, and sort of pointing. Couple of grins, but either way they look like it's a look you've seen 1,000 times, probably, as government inspectors in 1,000 different locales. These people, they don't like government, they don't like outsiders. They're not being hostile, but
To be fair, I probably look like one of them.
you do, so it might be directed at the other 2 in the party, but even so, you're not a known presence.
I think I look like I look like a college grad. I look like apart from the fact that my hair's a little too long, everything else about me says college grad, trad. The shirt's that kind of it's like a Gap shirt and it's Gap jeans, but they're flared, and it's like he cannot hide his collegiate sympathies.
And so I think probably the most of the sort of hostility in the empty stairs is aimed towards you, looking so much like an outsider as you do. And maybe it goes down in degrees as the party walks past. But either way, you're not known entities here. And you recognise that thing you've all experienced before of, outsiders. We don't need you around here. And you walk up the short flight of wooden stairs towards the saloon. So as you pass by the sort of gazing eyes of these slack-jawed yokels, and sort of go up the wooden steps, the last stop it's got like the look of a sort of, it does look like an Old West saloon. It's got like a wooden false front, wide boardwalk, all that stuff off the street, and there's a water trough even though you haven't seen a single horse in town.
Wild animals out in the desert, they need to find themselves a watering hole.
Double doors in the centre of the front wall.
Exactly what.
And there's quite a lot of large windows that are covered with signs and notices that look like they date back sort of decades. But the doors themselves are open. So you're sort of able to walk straight in if that's what you want to do. As you do broach the entrance of this sort of old school saloon, you see inside you got this like long bar that runs along the left wall. There's like a dozen or so stools. There's sort of tables and chairs, but they're sort of scattered about haphazardly. It looks like the sort of bar that after a long night, the bartenders can't be asked to lay things out in a sort of mathematically probable situation again. So they just sort of dot them about.
What time of day is it?
And there's like a full length. I'd say it's about midday.
12. Sorry.
It's about midday, yeah. You got like a big long mirror all along the side of the bar, and then on the right side you've got a jukebox. You've got and the wall is all covered in sort of antique farm equipment that could be from the 1800s. To be fair, and black and white photographs and stuff. The wall, in front of the bar, you've got all the bottles of things, you've got the mirror, and then you've got a sort of, the wall above the mirror is covered in like license plates, which seem to range from like 1908 up until the present day, all rusted and bent, but they're all sort of nailed into the sort of the top part of the wall.
That's... And the license plates could be a quirky thing, or it could be deeply sinister, couldn't it?
Good point.
Suddenly very Texas Chainsaw Massacre all of a sudden.
Since 1908. Cool.
Yeah.
And the place is called Abattoir.
Yeah.
Is there anyone going around with a bag on their head and a chainsaw?
Not that you've noticed, although actually a couple of the locals...
And could do with a bag over their heads.
Are carrying chainsaws.
Well, as we walk in, I think you look over at Lafitte and you see him walk in with to this bar with the look of someone who has completely no awareness of human behaviour. That's certainly the impression you get, that he's not at all worried about these characters sat outside, or the fact that it all feels a little bit shifty. Totally bright and breezy, just sort of waltzes straight in. And yeah, you get the impression it's because he is completely naive. You get that impression.
I walk in, you see me walk in, and I immediately go around and start looking at all the black and white photographs. Not because I'm naive, but because you get the impression that I'm completely insane.
What is your sanity?
Low.
Oh, God.
In fact, I'm talking to some of the photographs. I go up to them and go, "Well, you're a handsome devil. How'd you end up in a place like this? I suppose you're long dead now, eh, sonny?"
I'm not sure a starting low sanity means.
I think it's nice.
What? It means he's got low
sanity. It's an in-game hint. I like it.
Yeah. A warning.
I'm not insane. I'm eccentric.
Very fair.
Insane's going to be a lot worse.
I smile at Mooney as he talks to the pictures, and I say to myself under my breath, which I think Lafitte can hear, is, "No, it's a good thing to do." And I walk on over to the bar, and I'm actually looking to see if they've got any ice behind the bar.
Well, as you look over there, and as Ed looks at the photos, most of the photos initially, they could be from the 50s until onwards. They seem to show sort of, there's a couple of miners in sort of dusty gear, sort of posing and sort of grinning outside the front of a mine opening. And there's some others of, just townsfolk. Could you give me an idea roll as you look through all the pictures, if you wouldn't mind?
Me?
Yeah.
Yep.
If you're the one sort of searching these pictures.
What was this, an idea roll?
Yeah.
That's a success. That's 63 on my 85 intelligence.
So you're looking at all these pictures and you're thinking of other pictures you've seen of the same era, of like little villages that seem to like, they want to, usually when you're getting a photo taken, it's a big deal, right? So you want to accentuate the sort of fullness of your society, the happiness of the group. It's not that people don't look happy. A lot of people are smiling. But you do suddenly realise, and you think back to the playground you passed on the way here that seemed quite rusted and decrepit, and you suddenly think about the lack of children in all of the photos, and in the town in general, you haven't seen a single child yet. And it's not necessarily sinister. I mean, it's quite hot outside, but just seems odd considering these photos also don't have any of the younger generation in them. It's just, something that you notice, let's say.
And is there a suggestion of how far these photographs go back in terms of how old the town is?
You'd imagine at least until, it's certainly before the mine closed. The mine is nearby, the uranium mine, but it closed around 56. So a good 30 years ago, but this goes back to maybe the 40s, and there's no no sign of it.
Okay, so there's nothing from before the turn of the century or anything like that?
Not that you can see initially, no. And as Jack approaches the bar and sort of, I guess you put your hand down the bar or whatever, you're having a look into the mirror behind the don't look into the mirror behind the spirit bottles. You hear a voice saying, "Oh, hello there."
I look at the mirror and I say, "Lighter, is that you? Lighter?"
That's me, Lighter. No, this tall lean man in his sort of late 40s, dark eyes, stringy black hair, and a pencil moustache, sort of comes out and says, "Hello? New folks. Food, was it? Drinks? What can I get you?"
It's a ghoul. It's the long hair and the pencil moustache. Oh.
Is it a LeBlanc? I think it might be
a descendant of LeBlanc.
Which I did think about it. I did think about it. It's like an illegitimate. And how would they have known that the name was LeBlanc? And, so it all got too complicated. I think I say, "Oh, hello there. Well, we came in looking for a newspaper, but at the same time, we felt it was only right that we should order something."
Oh yes. Well,
Do you have a menu or any special day?
Yeah.
What kind of food do you do here? Do you just bar snacks or?
I do.
Some kind.
Would you just give me a moment to look it up myself, and
While we're getting them, we'll have 2 coffees and 2 tequilas.
Well, that sounds just grand. Yeah, and I'll get Carlos to fire up the oven for whatever you might decide on. Carlos, fire up the oven.
Oh no, I don't think we want hot food. It's not quite. Maybe just.
Oh, okay. Carlos, chill out the oven. That's fine.
I feel like we could probably cook ourselves a steak on the bonnet of our automobile out there, to be honest.
Well, yeah.
Weather is so...
That kind of weather, isn't it? What brings you...
I say, you seem to have... Oh, you're right there. You looked off into the middle
I
distance.
was just saying, yeah, what brings you folks up here?
Oh, business.
We're mad.
And we're
Oh, I
mad.
see. Well, you'll fit in here.
Mr. Mooney, do you want a New Mexico breakfast? That's the tequila, the coffee.
Of course I do, yeah.
Do you have milk?
Only in the tequila.
Well, of course. We put the worm in the coffee.
I can read you off the menu. I might not be able to send it to you just this moment, but you could have a burger and fries, ham and cheese and potato chips. You got a BLT with potato chips, liverwurst and cheese with potato. I mean, anything you want. Pork pies. We got barbecue ribs and cornbreads. What sort of things are you folks looking for?
We're going to have a little conference, if that's all right with you.
Oh, yes, of course.
On that New Mexico breakfast. Let's make that 3 of each. Do you have a pitcher of iced water?
Of course we do. Iced tea or just the water? Peach iced tea for anyone?
I think maybe just the water would be fine.
That's fine. Best outside of Georgia, but we'll stick with the water for now. You're quite right, gentlemen.
And I'll take a burger and fries.
Excellent. That's $1.55. Well, we'll settle up at the end, but...
Oh, listen, if we're ordering food, I'd just take some... I'd take some cornbread. In fact, scratch that. I have some biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy? And for you, sir, he says, looking at Jack, he says, we got the Hungry Man special. That's 4 eggs, sausage, grits, toast, and coffee. How's that sound? You look like a growing man.
Sure. I'll take that.
One Hungry Man special, one gravy and biscuits.
Biscuits and gravy.
Yeah. And with
Remind me, what's your name?
What's my name? Didn't you see it on the sign outside?
I'm not so good with my memory.
Oh, well, that's all right. My name's Robert Taylor. I own this here bar. This is the guy with the pencil moustache and the long hair. Out back, we got Carlos, who, Carlos, you working on that? You got that order? Good. So, that's me. And, you were after a paper as well.
A newspaper would be fine. Today's or yesterday's would be just all right as well.
We got a little rack there, just by the door. And
fantastic. Hey, say, what do you think of those people at that gas station? Funny folk, huh?
Well, I know Russo. He's a nice gentleman. I don't know much about him, to be honest, but they seem like...
Really?
Why, did they treat you odd?
No, just they were colorful characters. I like that a lot.
Yeah, you can find your share of colorful characters around here. Some people have called me a colorful character time gone by. Can you imagine that?
As he's saying, you find your fair share of colourful characters here. Maybe one of you looks around and notices that Lafitte is on the floor with his ear to the floorboard, listening for Death Watch beetle or anything other that might be, living in the floorboards.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, do you want to do me a listen roll?
Yeah,
just
I'll
before they
Hear
learn.
the shoggoth.
Yeah, under the
Chainsaw. He's passed, maybe.
I've rolled 100.
It was the other one.
Disappears through the floorboards.
I've rolled 100.
Oh, shit.
Giant Deathwatch beetle just drags him down.
Such an unnecessary roll.
You feel like you can hear something, but you kind of feel it like escaping away from you, and you start like sort of shuffling after it ear to the floorboards along the thing, and is that a Death Watch? Is that a Death Watch beetle, or is it? I can feel like I recognise it, and you're chasing it along. Your ear catches like a thick splinter on the wood, and it just stops your momentum, and it goes through the top of your ear like that. And you lose a hit point, and you start like bleeding very heavily from the ear.
Oh God!
Like the nail on the wall in Hellraiser. Ooh.
I mean, I'm actually immensely relieved that's all it is, to be honest.
Yeah,
Blood.
it could have been worse
Does
psychologically.
the blood start dripping through the floorboards and the camera?
It does.
Through.
It does, yeah.
It starts to go down to where the blood's dripping down to.
And if you were still concentrating on the sound, you might hear the sound of things gathering.